how do you build trust, and how do you know you've gained trust and you've given your trust to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was going to ask you about, because I didn't really tell Henry any of this. Well, but all I said was like, hey, we're going to talk about trust. And he said, all right, blah, 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 blah. And I had some questions for him. So right off the bat, I wanted to ask you, how do you know you've given someone your trust? Actually, let's start the other way around.
Okay.
What makes you trust somebody?
What makes me?
Yeah,
trust them?
what would make... So, for example, someone brand new that you've met and you're building a relationship as friends, whatever, right? When do you give your trust to them? Like, is it because of things they've done for you? Is it one of those things that, oh, they reciprocate the attention I give them to me, and just overall a two-way road, right? Every relationship should always be like a two-way street, right? Not one way, just one person giving it their all and the other one not doing anything. What would be those determining factors to give someone your trust?
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, that's a very good question. Sebastian A. Morales. Trust with me, I have like trust is, I guess, is important for all of us. And but for me personally, what it takes for me to trust one person is, I guess, either the time I've known them, or just like the vibe when you just know, kind of, it depends. Like I ask myself, okay, what has this person done for me, and what have I done for them? And when I feel like you've done something like something close, or like, you get comfortable, and that's when you say, okay, I trust that person to an extent, right? Or so that's how I see it. I don't know. What about you?
So for me, I see it as something very similar, is like where I've known this person for a while and they have not done anything negative to me. And the reason why I chose the word negative is just because there could be I guess it tackles more things than just really nailing it down to like one topic or one subject. So like when somebody helps me that I needed help, for whatever reason, I needed to ask that person for help, and like we're still like building a bond, not super close, so I asked for like the smallest of favor. I think that's how it starts off for a lot of people. It's like, for example, if you and me were work colleagues and I asked you, hey, can you go print this out for me? And then you do, and then you ask me to do a favor for you, and then it's like that beneficial relationship starts very small. But is it to where I need to see you do something for me first before trusting you? It's like, that's the weird part about it, is like, what will you do for me so I can trust you, and what will I do for you to trust me, and how that balances out, right? That's hard for a lot of people to figure out, because at this point, especially with relationships, right, trusting is very, very scary, or like to give someone your trust is very scary. So that's why I wanted to talk about, like, what will give you, or what will have you give someone their trust, or gain their trust and you give them your trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. But like, and also like for me, like with us and the boys, I trust all of you guys a lot.
Is it because we've been friends for a long time?
For a long time, yeah. And we vibe so well, it's crazy.
That is true. What you said earlier about vibe, I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people have that gut feeling that like, oh, this person's a bad person for me, or this person's a good person for me. I definitely agree with that too. Yeah,
it just, like, I know I talk a lot of shit to you guys and stuff like that, but it's just like how we are and stuff like that. But I do trust you guys a lot. I tell you guys more stuff, my personal stuff, I feel like, than I tell like my siblings and my dad and stuff. But it's just that level of trust, that you have trust one another. Like, my siblings, Lupita, she told me all the time, like, she says she's feels like I'm lucky enough to have a good group of friends, especially for this long, because especially they know me, how I am, and trust issues and whatnot. But it's always a vibe, and just like how long you know them, and to see, okay, what can I tell them, what can I not, and yeah, I don't know, that's how
one thing you mentioned earlier is like you mentioned how you tell us stuff that puts you in a vulnerable state. I think that's also a way that you build trust with another person, is when you both put your walls down and you can be vulnerable with each other. And that could be about a lot of different things. Something that you actually need help with and that you're asking for assistance, or just to have someone to listen to you, or you venting about emotions or what you're dealing with. Putting yourself in a vulnerable space, I feel like that will make the other person understand your feelings a little bit more. But also, what will play in my head, for example, like let's say we first, like, back to that topic, is just like we just met and then you're putting yourself in a vulnerable state. That would make me think like, oh wow, Henry's putting himself out here in front of me. That's crazy. And depending how I take it, always taking a positive way, right? Then it looks to me that I can be vulnerable with him. So if I ever needed help or anything like that, then I can go to him. And then that's where it goes into that loop of, okay, he helps me, I help him, blah, 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 blah. Then that's how you build trust. So I think like once you put yourself in a vulnerable space with another person, that's also a sign that you're giving them your trust, because you wouldn't do that with any stranger.
Yeah, that's true too. Because like once you show that sign, because you know no one likes being vulnerable, right?
Yeah, because it shows weakness, or you don't,
or whatever you want to portray.
Whatever you want it to feel like. For me, like I don't want to do that to someone random, because it's gonna be, first of all, you just go to help,
just go to someone else,
start crying,
just break down.
It's like nobody wants to do that. First of all, because it's kind of weird that you're just doing that in general, putting yourself in a vulnerable space with someone you just recently met. But also like, you don't want to be portrayed as a weak person in front of strangers, right? Because first impressions are important to everybody. That's why it does take time for you to be vulnerable with somebody. That's just a natural way of taking things. Now going to the other spectrum of everything, what would it take for you to lose trust in someone? Would it have to be a moment of betrayal, or just a lack of reciprocating feelings, or
lose of trust? So I think a perfect example, and I'm gonna say the name just because, and like what happened last year.
Oh, I got you.
So, you know, for the people out there that really know me, they know like how I am and like trust and commitment, or whatever, all that bullshit. But like, I'm the type of guy, I keep my circle small, and it's been like that for the past 5 years, thankfully. And there's only a few people I trust, you know, my family, you guys, you know, and for me, it's like if I have you, like if you're my friend, right, and you're in that close circle, like the boys, right, and you go behind my back, or you do some shady shit, like I'm gonna, you know, confront you, and I'm gonna cut you off, because like that it's just toxic and it's just drama, you know, like I don't want that shit in my life. Like if you betray me even once, or even thought of it or anything, it's like, okay, that right there.
So once it all it takes is once, and you lose complete trust on that person.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, well, for the most part, yeah. I've never had that really.
Do you ever think you can rebuild trust? Is that possible, or do you think that one incident will put a huge dent on, or a huge delay on that rebuilding your trust with one another?
I think it depends how bad it was,
severity of the severity.
I think time, you know, like time heals everything, and just like prove yourself that you're change. Like a big way, and I think the worst way is like if you get cheated on, or someone cheats on you, whatever, or that right there is kind of like, all right, you know. That's why for me, like when I see people that, you know, get cheated on, and they say I'm gonna give them a second chance, I mean, it's like, but that's kind of big, you know. If you get cheated on the first time, what makes you think it'll happen? But in the same time, you know, people, you know, second chance do happen, and I don't know, because I've personally known some, you know, well, I've seen a lot of people that get cheated on, and they feel like, okay, maybe, you know, whatever, and they go back, and then sadly it happens again, you know. Then you really like, damn, you lose that trust, you know, like, damn, betrayal, you know.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think why everybody or majority, I don't know, like you said, it depends on who you are, if you give people a second chance or just one chance and that's it. For me, like in a relationship with another person, one chance is all it is, because one thing I connect to very well is like people don't change just like that, right? It takes time. So in a relationship, I only give one chance, because that just goes to show, that shows me your character, that after all this time or whatever, you committing an act like that, what makes me think you're not going to do it a second time, right? So I think with more friends like you and the guys, I think I can give a second chance, because of that thing that we're talking about where it's severity. It's not as bad, because I think in a relationship you'll be way more hurt by a relationship, like a significant relationship, like a love relationship, than like your closest friends. Don't get me wrong, betrayal from your closest friends hurts just as much probably, but that thought that you can give them a second chance is there because you're friends, right? Nothing more, but still a strong connection.
Yeah.
I think a relationship with that, because love is a strong emotion, giving someone a second chance with that type of love is way scarier because of the hurt you've been in, right? That, I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that giving second chances does exist, but you also have to know if it's worth a second chance.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's very true.
I think it's more beneficial to think of the moment of like, hey, what happened? And it is hard to think like that, to think logical when in an emotional situation, especially for me. I think with my heart a lot. Like, I'm very impulsive, and I think with my heart like very quickly. But I'm trying to get better to the point where I think of the situation I'm in at first, and then I choose my words wisely on what, or my actions wisely, to see what I do next. Because people do deserve a second chance. I do believe that. But then again, It depends what happened specifically.
Yeah.
And I think relationship wise, like with the love relationship, I think once is all a person really gets, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, man, because it was time, and once you get to know someone and you build that bond and you're building that trust, and then you see someone like with all that, because like I said, I'm not gonna, you or I or whatever, we're not gonna go up and like tell you like our life story or open up to you, right? But when you open up to that one specific person, and then they go behind your back and they just fucking just betray you, or like tell everyone about your BS or whatever, it's like, damn, it's like, fuck, then you can't trust anyone, and then that's when you create trust issues.
Yeah, trust issues is very, I think a lot of people, I'm not gonna say everyone because I don't know, but I think a lot of people do have trust issues, and who knows how it was formed. But I think a common theme of trust issues is an act of betrayal, right? Where someone went behind your back, or someone said something, or even like a lack of caring anymore. Like, for example, like if you and me start drifting away on like friendship, right? I don't hang out with you, the vibes are off, we don't talk as normal. I doubt you'd trust them as much as you did before, right? I think like I think a loss of connection also can bring trust issues, just because like, the
lost
bond,
connections,
not like connections, but really like like how you and me, we're close, we joke around all the time, we text, blah blah blah. But then if you see me acting a certain different way, that's kind of off, then it's like, what's wrong? I don't know, it's hard to say. It's like almost not matching the same energy. Does that make sense? Like one's giving too much and the other one's not doing anything, or stuff like that. And dealing with trust issues, do you have any specific ways you deal with them, or is it one of those things where you just forget that person or don't try? Or how do you deal with trust issues?
How do I deal with trust issues?
I guess it will be more specifically toward the fact of new relationships. So be it friends or a significant other type of relationship. How would you deal with your past trust issues? I guess your trust issues are present.
Right. How
would you overcome them or try to overcome them in a future relationship? Because you don't want to nobody wants to bring in negative energy toward a new friend, a new significant other. How would you specifically try to deal with that?
I guess with time and to see if, okay, to see if they trust me. Like if I see that they trust me and they open up to me, then that makes me feel okay. If they're open up to me, then
So your trust issues are in the back of your head just momentarily when this whole relationship is building. And that, how you mentioned over time, that goes away. You start like letting go of those trust issues with this new person.
yeah, for the most part. I tried to keep it.
When you say try to, do they come up just randomly? Like you just like,
they
damn.
come up. Like I feel like when it gets like not with you guys obviously,
Yeah.
because there's levels of like trust and like intimacy or whatever. But with you guys, no. Like I feel like I trust you guys a lot. I don't no trust issue with you guys at all. But like when it comes to a significant other, like obviously with a girl, but like I try to keep it away, because then like in time, for example, like if I'm talking to someone and it's like, let's say 3-4 months in, right? And then it gets a little serious, and then you're like, oh man, then I start to question myself, like, okay, it's getting a little serious. Like I don't know, your mind plays tricks. My mind plays a lot of tricks with me, like, okay,
it's like you're almost overthinking.
Yeah,
like
overthinking.
the situation.
Yeah, you start thinking, okay, it was like this before in my last relationship. Like, is something gonna go wrong? Like so like those memories of your previous or your issues, whatever, start coming up, and they're like, okay, Henry, like this is around the same time. This is usually this when this happened. So I try to keep it in mind. I try to build trust with a person, and yeah.
No, I understand that, like where like those trust issues are in the back of your head. At one point, so does it go back to where how you mentioned they trust you, see that they trust you first, then now you can reciprocate that feeling of trust?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I see it, and it's tough too, because I want to touch back real quick. You say like kind of gut feelings. It's tough when I feel like you vibe with someone and they just everything's matching or aligning, as they say, and then you guys trust one another, and then something happens. It sucks when you, like, something inside, like that gut feelings. It's kind of like you felt like it was like you trusted them, and then but then something happens, and then just everything falls apart. It's weird.
Isn't it crazy how like building trust takes a lot of time, but one simple incident can like just completely break it down?
Yeah, and then you don't trust anyone. Like I said,
and
yeah,
then
you
it's
don't
even
trust,
harder to build up again.
that trust.
Yeah, it's crazy how that's why it's hard to judge, like, does this person deserve a second chance or not, because like it is hard. It's hard to build that trust up, but it's so easy to fuck up trust and just destroy it, like, to the fucking ground. And how you build relationships upon that, I think it's almost not really like luck, right? But some people have it easier to make relationships because they don't have trust issues, and others are having trust issues, and it's hard to building new relationships. But I think finding that balance with people that have trust issues, finding that balance with a new relationship is going to be not a requirement, but something that you should keep in your priority list if you want to make a relationship last.
Right, obviously.
Is sometimes you got to be vulnerable first, and then see how the person reacts, see what their energy is, and then you can continue that trust.
Yeah, like for me, yeah, the whole being vulnerable. Like I remember this one time, this is like beginning of 2018, something happened, and I was dealing with some like BS, and I remember I fucking broke down crying in front of like Joseph. And I remember Joseph, he like consulted me, like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, and like he's a real homie. He didn't go, and I don't know, I mean, he didn't go, he didn't tell anyone. It was just like him and I. Situation like, damn, like Henry, like was doing some BS, and like he like broke down crying, like he knows, like, so you have that kind of like I guess trust bond. Is like, damn, he's seen me at my worst. He's seen me in that downtime,
Yeah.
So I guess is that, it's showing someone like, hey, you can trust me. and I chose Joseph because of that. I chose him because
you're able to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
and he was able to consult
me
you.
and be there for me. And that's something that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Like if someone's there for you at your worst time,
It's the small stuff.
It's the
or
small
I mean,
stuff.
it's like it is something very important that someone's there for you, but it's like it's super easy to do to be for some. Like it's easy to be there for somebody on their dire needs, but at the same time, its impact is huge, right? Like it really impacts you how you feel about that person.
it's the small things. It's the small things like
That matter.
that matters. And like another example, like with you guys, like you guys go to my tournaments, you guys are over there for like when it's like my birthday, we all go out for my birthday.
Yeah.
We all go out, and like it's the small things like that. Like when I need help with like little things, like